When you were jumping over from the accounting firm to the starting this business, was the business was this pre-revenue, or you knew that there were existing clients that your family members could tap into? How did that look from a risk standpoint of when you jumped away and then
Yeah,
said, "Hey, let's work together on this."
it was not pre-revenue, but it was very um, intermittent and volatile revenue. And we had picked up we didn't, but what happened is my father-in-law had purchased this failing treatment center. It was just on the brink of going out of business. And he purchased that and we tried to turn it around together. And reputationally, there was a big impact because the other program had not been run well. And so it was really challenging to um, get any sort of velocity at first. We were just fighting everything, PR, fighting reputation, fighting the culture in the business. And to be honest, it would have been way easier just to start from scratch. We did it the hard way. I think turnarounds, especially for someone who's not experienced in the industry, those are the most challenging. That's probably one of the most challenging ways to run a business.
All right. Thanks for joining us at the Life of a Career podcast, Josh. Before we get started, can you give us a quick introduction of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, Eric, super excited to be on today. I am currently working as the CFO of two behavioral healthcare organizations. So we run behavioral healthcare long-term residential treatment for adolescent teen females at one of our organizations, and we provide transitional behavioral healthcare for young adults at another one of our units. And so I oversee the financial component of this organization. We've got about 130 employees. We're doing about $8 million a year in annual revenue, and so that's my day job. And in the evenings, I provide some fractional CFO services.
Oh, okay. Great. Yeah, I can't wait to learn more about what that day to day is like and how you actually got to being a part of two different companies and also being able to do like a fractional career as well. So, but before we get there, uh, is this what you always dreamed of, being a business owner, running two different companies or multiple companies and doing consulting?
Yeah, I always knew that I wanted to be a business owner of some sort, and so as a kid, I was very entrepreneurial. Had a lawn mowing business. That was kind of my core business as a kid, but did lots of different things, shoveling snow all winter long, or selling. This program called Olympia Sales Club where, as a young, probably 10 years old, 12 years old, you could go sell items door to door to your neighbors. And so I was always figuring out ways to make money. As soon as I was able to drive, I started a window cleaning business, and I did that from when I was 16 until I finished college. Window cleaning kind of got me through college. And I studied accounting in college. And in the accounting program at the university I was at, Southern Utah University, they really emphasize that going to a public accounting firm, and particularly a Big Four accounting firm, is a great opportunity to, um, refine your skill set, get exposure to a lot of different types of businesses. And so, in my mind, I was telling myself, I'm going to go to Big Four. I'm going to tough it out. I'm going to work the busy seasons, and I'm going to make partner at a Big Four, and that's how I'm going to be a business owner. So I'm going to be a shareholder at a Big Four accounting firm. Within about a year, I was like, this is not for me. There's no way that this is something that I can be happy doing. And for me, it felt like, and this is not to disparage Big Four accounting by any means. There are a lot of people that find it interesting and challenging. For me at the time, though, it felt like white collar assembly line, and so they'd send me over a spreadsheet, and I'd have to tie it out, make sure the numbers match, mark it up in a PDF, send it back to them. And so there wasn't a lot of opportunity for creativity and anything like that. And so that was really challenging for me, and to feel like I had excitement and enjoyment in my day to day was really important to me in my career, to feel energy. And I had an opportunity to work with some family members in a behavioral health care organization. And so I ended up leaving this big four accounting firm and working with some family members in this behavioral health care organization. And I mean, there's a lot to that story, but that's kind of been my career path at a high level.
Okay. When you were in school, you said you started your own, you said window washing business, right?
Yeah,
And then how did that translate into I'll go into more of an accounting field? Like, did you just have an interest in numbers, or did you just want to stay close to the money? Like, what caused you to think, oh, accounting? Because business, you could have studied marketing, you could have studied finance, or any other aspect like the operations side. How did you come down to selecting accounting?
yeah, it's kind of interesting because I don't remember. I tell people this. I don't ever remember making the decision. All right, I'm going to do accounting. So I've tried to think back and figure out what what was the tipping point for me that put me into accounting. What I do remember, though, having this rationale of accounting is one of the most functional business majors. So I was thinking, if I know accounting, I can be an accountant, but I could also do finance, and I could also get into an operations role, and I could marketing maybe not so much, but once you have a business degree, there's opportunities for some of those other avenues. And so for me, accounting was like a really safe bet with a lot of various opportunity, and so that was the rationale. And then I had several of my roommates and teammates on my track team were also studying accounting, and so I was like, why not? Like, these guys are doing it. Seems like there's a lot of diversity as far as career path opportunities post graduation, and so I was like, let's do it.
Yeah, the when you were in high school, did you have peers that were, that you discussed this kind of going into college, what you're going to study? What was the community like that you grew up in? Did they sort of show you, hey, going to college is the path that you have to go to, or was that something that you came up with yourself? Like, hey, I really want to go this, to go to college, and you just
Yeah,
figured out accounting was the best choice for you.
so that's an interesting story as well, because I was homeschooled all the way through high school, and so I didn't attend a public school, and I didn't have a lot of exposure to the like college prep stuff, and career prep programs that many high schools have. So my exposure to the public schools was purely through sports. And so I ran track and cross country at my local high school, but then I was doing school at home. And so I didn't I wasn't really thinking about that in high school. I was thinking about running track and washing windows.
Then was it more like a, I mean, homeschooling has probably changed since you've been in, but now I think homeschooling is, there's extensive networks and support and
Yeah.
resources and community built around it. Did you have that level of support back in the day when you were going through homeschooling, or was that still sort of in its infancy?
We had support in terms of more community groups where community members who are providing homeschooling to their children are connecting for educational opportunities and things like that. But it wasn't on a like a college trajectory. This is more just educational opportunities in the community. And so, yeah, we weren't really involved in those kinds of networks.
Mm. And then was college just something that, your family just said, hey, like this is what you're going to have to do and just go pick a major? Because I know that's how I grew up. I think I had a class of 800 students in my graduating class in high school, and I think it was like 94% of us had were accepted into college. So in my mind, that's the only
Yeah.
path forward after school. Was that similar to your experience?
No, I had quite a different experience, I think, because since I didn't have that, since I wasn't in public school and I was kind of doing my own thing, it wasn't in my mind. In my family, is pretty mixed as far as what they've decided to pursue vocationally. And I have family members who have gone to college and who have gone to even the PhD level in mental health. I think one of my uncles is a psychologist. Another one is a marriage and family therapist. And then I have family members who have gone into the trades and not participated in college, or who have gone into real estate as agents or brokers and who have been successful that way. My dad runs a welding business, so he does a mobile welding company. Um, and my dad has been in the trades himself. And so I had a lot of different ideas of what a post high school career or education could look like. And really, what pushed me into college was track. So I had a scholarship to run track at Southern Utah University, and I knew I loved sports, loved track, and so I was like, I'm going to keep this rolling as long as I can. And so that was really what pushed me into college initially.
It was the pursuit of track.
Yeah, exactly.
It was, did you think that there was a career in track, or was it just, hey, I want to continue to
No, I was
compete?
like, I mean, college is a great thing to do. Might as well, come and several of my high school teammates were also on this track team in college. And so I already had a social network there and was really enjoying that. So I thought, might as well go get a college degree, keep running, and it was a good fit for me.
Okay, that makes sense. And then once you got into college, were there any, you know, confusion, regrets of starting the accounting side, or was that something you immediately were like fond of? Like, oh, okay, I enjoy this
Yeah,
degree.
I think I enjoyed it, and I ended up pursuing some of the student, not necessarily student body government opportunities within accounting, but they're I can't even remember the Greek organization for accounting, there's a national organization for accounting students in undergraduate programs that helps them recruit. We at Southern Utah University, we had a program called the Professional Accountancy Club. Pretty nerdy, right? Uh, I'm hesitant to say this publicly, but I did participate in that, and I was on the student council and the Professional Accountancy Club, and then I served as the president of the accountancy club at my university. And so I really felt like it was with the education and the leadership opportunities that it was a fun challenge for me. I felt like I was able to lean into it. And yeah, accounting isn't necessarily the most exciting subject to just discuss at a party, right? I mean, that's not what you just chat about with people. But when you take it in context of managing an organization, which is really exciting, it gives you the skill set to understand, to basically read your dashboard. And so if you don't understand accounting or finance, you have a really hard time understanding some of the key performance indicators your business has, or even in a small business context, knowing what kind of key performance indicators to build in the first place. So, so I really felt like it was a good fit overall. I felt like it was tough. It's a challenging degree, but it gives you a strong skill set that you can leverage into a lot of other opportunities. So I feel great about my choice there.
Yeah, and I mean, it's clear that you enjoyed it because you continue to pursue organizations that were, surrounding that subject. Did you continue on doing any of your window washing business in college, or did you cut that off once you started school?
Yeah, I ran it probably through my junior year, and I could go out on a weekend and make 300 bucks on a Saturday or something, which for a college student is great. And so having the flexibility and some good hourly rate, it was a good financial opportunity for me in college just to support myself. And at one point, I did think, maybe I can scale this up and hire an operator, and that never came to fruition. But it did end up being a nice way to support myself in the meantime. And as soon as I started getting internships, where I was like, I needed to start to prepare myself to interview for full time roles at accounting organizations, that's when that kind of fell off and started focusing on that recruiting path there.
Hmm. Yeah, could you walk us through a little bit about like what it's like to try and get into a, a big four? Because it's the hiring process. I think for a lot of people who don't go down, it's a semi track. It's not really a track career path, but like the interview process and application process is very similar across the board in that
Yeah,
industry. Right?
yeah. If you're looking to go into a large accounting firm, so a big four accounting firm, or even a regional accounting firm, you really need to be knowing that by sophomore year probably. And sophomore year, you're interviewing for internships that you can do the summer before your junior year. Because ideally, you're able to do either probably an externship or an internship the summer before your junior year, and then another internship the summer before your senior year. And that gives you the opportunity to try out two service lines because there's a lot of service lines within accounting. You have tax and audit, and then within those, you have a lot of opportunities. And then you have advisory. A lot of the big four companies have an advisory line that you can apply to intern within one of those subsets. And so to do it really well and to make sure you get in a service line that matches your um, what you enjoy from a work perspective, I think the key is to expose yourself to as many elements of the potential career that you're pursuing as you can, because and this is a little tangent. People ask me all the time, "Oh, can you help me with my taxes?" I'm like, I'm not a tax accountant. There are a lot of different kinds of accounting within accounting, and even within, let's say, assurance or audit, there are specialists who are specializing in oil and gas or in tech, or they might be specializing with private organizations, or they might be specializing in helping an organization go public. So SOX compliance or SEC regulations. And so you have to be able to choose something with um, context. I think it's important to just expose yourself to all the opportunities available. And so going back, yeah, I think it's great to start this process your sophomore year. So you want to be ready to be interviewing for internships or externships during your sophomore year, so that you can get one of those the summer before your junior year, and then get another internship the summer before your senior year. And at the end of your internship, after your in the summer before your senior year, most big four accounting firms will offer you a full time job to start after your master's program. So you really have to get on this pipeline early to make sure that you don't miss the cutoff. If you start interviewing for Big Four during your master's program, you're a lot less likely to get a role. And if sophomore is probably that's perfect. Junior, you still have a good shot. I mean, you wouldn't be too far behind. But yeah, you got to follow this trajectory that they've established, where it's kind of a 2-year cycle often, They want to get to know you at an internship level, and then they can offer you a job to start after your master's program.
That's crazy. You need a master's, like
Yeah,
a graduate degree, in order to
in
get into
uh,
the firm.
the states to sit for a CPA, so you need to be eligible to sit for a CPA exam. And full disclosure, I'm not a CPA. I've decided not to pursue that path. And there are still lots of opportunities for people in the accounting world to have a successful career who are not CPAs. But a big four accounting firm, in order to progress, you need to have your CPA. And so I think California requires 150 credit hours with some requirements as far as specific core classes and ethics classes and things like that, where you can sit for the CPA exam. Utah, where I currently live, Utah does require a master's degree. So
Wow.
it depends on the state. You'll have to check your individual state, but many states do require a master's degree to sit for the CPA exam.
Oh wow. And then because the big four, they're looking at you as a candidate for potential, inside their track,
Yeah,
they need you to be eligible for a CPA or be able to sit in one before they even consider
exactly.
hiring
You'll
you.
only be able to progress so far if you don't have your CPA at a big four accounting firm. You'll kind of be probably you might have 2 or 3 years of progression, and then they're going to say, hey, if you want to keep getting promoted, you better have this. I have heard of people that so at the firm location I was at, I know there was a partner there who he had progressed through the advisory arm, which where the CPA isn't quite as important. But then he had an opportunity to become a partner, but they were like, hey man, you need to have a CPA if you want to be a partner here. So he had to go back to school 10 years into his career, get his master's degree, sit for the CPA. And for anyone who's 10 years post college, the idea of trying to sit and take tests on the information that you studied in your undergraduate program, that's a pretty scary proposition. I mean, trying to remember all that information would be at this point really challenging. So it's best if you think you want to be uh, on that CPA track in a public accounting firm, you better just knock it out as soon as you
Yeah. It's so interesting that there's so much planning that students should probably consider if they want to pursue a path down this big four accounting. So when you walked in by freshman year, you knew that that was the trajectory you wanted to go towards, right?
Yeah, well, probably by sophomore year, I was like, okay, yeah, we're doing Big Four. Yeah, freshman
Okay.
year, I just doing. I didn't know a lot about it, but then I joined the professional accounting club, started to get exposure to this recruiting path, and yeah, I jumped right on that and was polishing up my resume, getting ready, going to all the recruiting events by my sophomore year.
Mm. Do you think that joining the accounting organization and clubs were really helpful in understanding the industry
Yeah,
then?
yeah, I think that colleges often have a lot of resources that people don't take advantage of, and so many and there are organizations that might be regional or state or higher level that if your college doesn't have those opportunities that you could still probably participate in, or maybe there's a nearby university that might have something, but they will set up path for you that you just need to go there, figure out what that path looks like, and start working towards it. So they'll often have an advisor who's a faculty member who's telling people how do you access a career like this. And so I think yeah, that was I would have never been able to access Big Four on my own. I needed to be in that organization to know how to navigate that process because it is fairly opaque um, without having support at your university. It's challenging to know how to navigate that.
Yeah, because I think professors are generally just focused on teaching the curriculum, right? They're
Yeah,
probably not there telling you, hey, these are the job opportunities that are available. I think that's a lesson that I kind of am learning from talking to you, it's like, oh, I didn't join any school clubs in college, um, and I didn't have the awareness of like what would it be like to go down, because I did a business program myself. I had friends who were going down the accounting path, but in my mind, I was never aware that like you had to make a decision so early, like sophomore, junior year, like, hey, start that process now, or else you might not even be considered. Uh,
Yeah.
that's so interesting. Okay. And then, so you said you had to leave the window washing business around junior year. Uh, what was it like to do the internships in the accounting firms?
Yeah, they were a lot of fun. I interned, well, at first I entered in the finance office at my university. So that was my first exposure to any sort of financial work. And so I reported to the vice president of finance at my university, and I was kind of just his assistant to some extent, and doing administrative tasks mostly. But he was um, someone who had had a successful career in accounting, and he had navigated the Big Four accounting, and then moved to a regional accounting firm. And so he had a lot of great career advice and was a great support to me. And then I was able to get an internship with a Big Four firm in the Bay Area in their tax division. And I loved the team. It was a lot of fun being in the Bay Area. This would have been 2014, and um, so loved the firm, loved the people. But I was like, I don't really like tax. They'd I was running what you call state bonus depreciation. So they were sending me all these spreadsheets. I'd open it up, run the macro, save it, send it back. That was just kind of what I was doing all day long for a big biotech company, and just wasn't lighting me up at all. And even if I contrast that to window cleaning, it's like, well, that sounds like a better job than washing windows. And in a lot of ways it was, but it didn't have the opportunity for creativity and interfacing with the client and sales and marketing. And I really like having access to the full spectrum of business duties. So, I mean, in my current role, I'm overseeing a real estate project. I'm overseeing this young adult behavioral healthcare program that we started in June. So it's a new division of ours. And I sit on the marketing committee, and I oversee our nursing department. And so there's a lot of variety in my role, and that's how I like it. I like to be moving around a lot during the day, dealing with a lot of different issues. And that was the exact opposite of what I was doing in my internship. I could just sit at my desk all day long. I didn't really need to talk to anybody and just churn out this work. And so that was a struggle for me. So I loved it in the sense that the people were great to me, and um, I liked the area. What I didn't like was the service line, and so that's why I always recommend that people get as many opportunities in terms of internships as they can, as much exposure as they can to the potential service line, so they don't end up, because it is such, if you're starting your junior year and you don't really know what you're getting into after your master's program, and there's not a ton of opportunity to pivot in the meantime, you kind of got to get on this track and follow it all the way through. So early on, if you can go help a firm prepare tax returns, or if you can go talk to people who do audit, or whatever it might be, or in whatever career, just getting as much exposure as possible so that you're making an educated decision. So that was part of my education, though, in terms of what do I want to do long term. And I was like, this isn't what I want to do long term. So I switched service lines and decided to go into advisory. And fortunately, they took a chance on me. I moved out to one of their Texas offices doing advisory. I ended up, because of that switch, I ended up canceling my master's program. And at the time, I was still the president of the accountancy club at my university because my whole plan was go back, do my master's program, sit for the CPA, then go Big Four, right? But advisory is not necessarily that. That doesn't necessarily require the CPA. And so I was thinking, I'm not loving this CPA stuff. I'm going to go do advisory. It ended up being kind of the same thing for me as I get into advisory, and I'm like, this isn't my fit. You know, I'm still feeling like I can sit at my desk 10 hours a day and not need to really interface with people, and I'm working on one task that it it's just not exciting me. And so, and that's where I was there for a year, and ended up saying no, we're going back to Utah and can work in this behavioral healthcare organization.
Yeah, quick question on those positions that you're talking about. Those were not internships anymore, right?
Right.
And you
Well,
were in
the
the
first
Bay
one was an
Area.
internship, the tax internship, and the second one was not. That was a full time
The one in Texas
role. Yeah.
was full time. Okay, got it. Okay, that makes sense. And once you went into the behavioral health organization, how did that transition look?
Yeah. So that for me is really um, what what everything I like and what I was. Um, I grew up has some where we would fix our own cars. If our car broke down, we'd fix our own cars. We'd mowed our own lawn. We weren't calling people to come do a bunch of work for us. And that's kind of how it was with this behavioral healthcare organization at first because we were bootstrapping. This is just post 2008 recession, so 2015. So it's coming out of the recession, but um, myself and my family members weren't in a position where we had a lot of capital to start this. So we were bootstrapping the organization. We didn't want to take on an investor. And we were hand to mouth a lot of the time. And so I was participating at every level of the organization, working in the houses with the clients at times. There were times when I was out doing construction, framing up walls, doing drywall, painting, filling up our vans with gas, taking them to get repairs, or again doing marketing, doing calling referral sources who refer clients for treatment, and so and also doing all the accounting, managing the tax returns, filing the tax returns, and so that's what excites me is kind of like I have an opportunity to make an impact here, and there's a lot of variety that keeps things exciting day to day.
So really, you weren't walking into an established
Not at all.
business. It was building the business. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and there were for the first 3 years, our cash position was so tight that I would often it would be so payroll might be pulled on a Thursday for our direct deposit, and I it might be Wednesday, and our bank account balance would be like $2,000, and we might have a $40,000 payroll that was about to pull, and just hoping that checks would arrive that day, and if not, we we had a acquaintance here who was who he's a dentist actually, and he'd kind of do like hard money loans to businesses, and we'd be paying 10% a month interest on those loans. So just we would be going out and getting these hard money loans to buy us another 2 weeks to get through the payroll cycle, and that was where I really cut my teeth on how to run a small business because you don't people talk. This is the funny thing, and CPAs probably won't like it. You get a lot of CPAs who talk like they know how to manage a small business. All they've ever done is public accounting. They've never had to do the internal finance of a small business, and they don't know what it's like to manage cash. They don't know how to do a cash forecast, and they also so this is going to one of the most important things I feel like I learned is cash forecasting is the number one key to stability in a small business, especially in the startup period, because you need to know how much money you're going to have in a month, 2 months, and 3 months. Because if I know 3 months out that I'm going to have a cash crunch and I'm not going to be able to make payroll, there's a lot I can do in 3 months to prepare for that pivot. So we can reduce labor costs in the meantime, or we can go and find more favorable loan terms than 10%. But if you get surprised 3 days before, there's not a lot you can do in 3 days to fix your cash position. So cash forecasting is something I always recommend to small business owners as a key to stabilizing their organization, because it gives you certainty about upcoming events. And when you know what's coming at you, you can prepare for it. So kind of got off track there. Remind me your
No, no. I think those are valuable lessons. It was about you starting a
yeah, that's right.
business from scratch, right?
Yeah, so it wasn't
And
established
what
at
you
all, right? I mean,
yeah, and what you talked about though, the knowledge of cash flow, like or where the cash is so important because even in today, um, I recently was experiencing or that was brought in to just look at a startup, and it was a physical product company, and all the highlights of the metrics like look at all this growth, look at our we're doing $1 million a year this year, and it's only our second year, and it's just a couple, a husband and wife team. And it's like holy crap, that looks all amazing, and you want to raise money. But then when you immediately look at the books, they gave me, I think it was only a couple numbers, just like cost wise, timeline wise, and all like, just inventory things. And I immediately was like, there's something wrong. I think they're going to run out of money and like they're going to hit a cash crunch issue because of their inventory
yeah,
within 3 months. I was like, I think they're desperate
and
for an
physical
investment.
product businesses can be really challenging in that way, where you are, as the business, fronting all the cash for all the product, all the inventory you have to purchase,
Hmm.
and there might be a 90-day cycle before you get paid for any of that inventory. So,
Yeah. And yeah. So that knowledge as a small business owner, I think is an important feature that you talked about. So I'm really glad you brought it up.
yeah,
Yeah, and what else was it like to did you have to do the marketing? You said you were fueling up vehicles and all sorts of stuff. Like what else
yeah. So
was
the
involved?
marketing definitely, that's an interesting topic to dive into for a business that's not established, because you don't really know it's going to work. None of us, and it was crazy for us to take this on because none of us had experience in behavioral health. My father-in-law was an attorney, and he had done some legal work for behavioral health care businesses, and so he understood the regulatory environment, which is really important. As far as operationally, though, none of us knew anything about operating, and so marketing, we didn't know, like, how do you market a behavioral health care company? How do you broadcast your service to all the people that need it? And so you're just trying everything, right? Like, okay, maybe if we do this, that'll work. And maybe if you do this, that'll work. Nope, that doesn't work. Nope, that doesn't work. And so it's kind of this trial and error process as a small business owner, figuring out how do we market this organization. And eventually, I really, if you're familiar with Naval Ravikant, founder of AngelList.com,
Okay. Yep.
and he talks about compound interest and how the compounding effect has implications for relationships, has implications for money, running a small business. And so I really believe in the compounding effect of your efforts in a business. And it's all about, if you can stick to something that you know that there's a need in the market for 3 or 5 or 10 years, and just continue to iterate, you can figure out, how do I transform my business to meet what the market needs, and um, and you can really generate a successful organization through that process. But the first year, the first 2 years, 3 years, those can be really challenging, and you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and that's inevitable. You have to be okay with that as a small business owner, and I think with any career. If you're not okay making mistakes, you're going to go through a lot of heartache. And you need to be able to look at your career and say, I'm going to go and explore. I'm an explorer for the first 10 or 20 years of my career, maybe. And I'm going to figure out what am I good at? What's my unique skill set? And how am I going to apply that in a way that I can generate an
When you were jumping over from the accounting firm to the starting this business, was the business was this pre-revenue, or you knew that there were existing clients that your family members could tap into? How did that look from a risk standpoint of when you jumped away and then
income?
said, "Hey, let's work together on this."
It was not pre-revenue, but it was very intermittent and volatile revenue, and we had picked up a we didn't. But what happened is my father-in-law had purchased this failing treatment center. It was just on the brink of going out of business, and we he purchased that, and we tried to turn it around together. And reputationally, there was a big impact because the other program had not been run well, and so it was really challenging to um, get any sort of velocity at first. We were just fighting everything: PR, fighting reputation, fighting the culture in the business. And to be honest, it would have been way easier just to start from scratch. We did it the hard way. I think turnarounds, especially for someone who's not experienced in the industry, those are the most challenging. That's probably one of the most challenging ways to run a business. So, and it's funny because we started the second business this year, and it's been and 10 times, 20 times as easy. We just had all these systems ready to go. We knew who to talk to. We know how to run the business. We know licensing and legislative issues that we need to watch out for from the get go. We knew the kind of physical facility that we need to acquire to operate the business. And so it's funny that and fun to see how well this second organization is doing right from the get go compared to how long it took us to get our initial operation up to speed. Um, so yeah, that was an organization that was struggling quite a bit, and it was funny because I was doing all the finance side, and my brother-in-law, he's running kind of sales, admissions for our clients, and I tell him often, he remembers this, reminds me about it. I tell him, hey man, make sure your resume is polished because I don't know if we're making this payroll. And that's what I tell him frequently, you know, just be ready. Like I don't know how long this thing is gonna last. And we'd figure out a way to get through it every time. We had to take I don't know 6, 7, 8 different little bridge loans to get us through payroll in those early years. But when your monthly expense might be 150,000 at the time, probably spending around 150,000 a month, and your revenue is like 155,000 or 140,000, kind of back and forth, or some a bad month 100,000 in revenue, and so your burn rate might be 150,000 a month, and then your bank account has $20,000 in it. Like that's a pretty anxiety inducing situation to be in. So we just cash crunched like for years, and it's really really challenging. So quite a different situation than being at a big organization.
Yeah, what kept you focused on that? I mean, to always have that overhanging, you know, in on your mind that, hey, you might not get paid this month, or
Yeah,
maybe I don't know how many months you might have to go through as the owner, especially because everyone else has to get paid first in order to continue the services. Um,
yeah. We had a lot of
what?
situations where so the management and the owners would hold their checks. So we'd say, all right, we're canceling direct deposit for this segment of the employees. You get to hold your paper check until we have money, and then we direct deposit all of the um, hourly workers that they're going to quit for sure if they don't get paid, and as they should. I would too. So
Yeah. What was the motivation to kind of keep going? Was it just the prospect of, hey, we do see growth? Maybe it was fun
yeah,
to a certain degree to take on these to problem solve these challenges.
yeah. For me, one thing is it is thrilling to have a challenge like that. So I really like having a mountain to climb in life, and so that was a lot of fun. Knowing that you have so much impact on your community. So right now we employ about 130 people in our community, and we live in a town of about 50,000 people, so it's a small town. And we're actually, I think, one of the top 20 employers as far as employee
Wow.
headcount in our city right now. And so that's super cool, and it brings a lot of opportunities to have an impact locally. So I really like that, and the prospect of being in that situation was exciting. And then I think the other thing that um, people don't understand about small business is it's an opportunity for you to design a lot of autonomy and customize your lifestyle long term. And so now we're in a position where we have a really good leadership team that's running the operations. And if I want to go on vacation, I can. And there's still a lot of need in the business, and we run 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and our clients aren't always excited about being in treatment. And so inevitably there are situations that late at night or weekends where you're managing, but you also have the flexibility and autonomy to take off early to go to my son's soccer game or whatever. So as a small business owner, I really like that dynamic, um, where I've got a lot more control over my life than if I was at a big four accounting firm and having to make sure my billable hours are up all the time. Uh, yeah,
Yeah. What is a day to day or a week like in your life now? Because you've sort of explained what it was like in the early days. It was you did everything,
yeah,
along with everyone else who started the business. Uh, what does it look like now?
yeah. We have awesome people in, as I said, in our leadership um, hierarchy now who are able to manage all of those frontline things. We've got a full time maintenance guy so I'm not painting anymore. I'm not framing walls anymore or trying to figure that stuff out. But day to day, I'm rolling in probably like 8:45. I get to take my son to school. I've got a 5-year-old son. Take him to kindergarten. I roll in about 8:45, and then I'm usually making sure the financial. So the finance organization is my number one priority. My role, obviously, and so I'm making sure that um, our revenue cycle process is just being taken care of, and I've got two people that report to me who manage that. So billing for Medicaid, billing for insurance, billing for our private pay clients, and any other payer sources that we need to manage. So checking in on those things, checking in on our cash forecast. That's kind of more of a weekly issue, but every week, even now, I'm still revisiting the cash forecast. How is our cash situation looking across time? Reviewing our client headcount. So just kind of, I'll get in, check emails, just high level, what's going on. And then I get into a lot of meetings, so we make sure that all of our leadership team, well, everybody in the organization should be having a one-to-one meeting at least um, once a month for part-time people and once a week for full-timers. And so doing one-to-ones with my direct reports. I still sit on the marketing committee, sitting in our ownership meeting, sitting in our leadership executive meeting each week. Um, and then currently we are building a $9 million real estate project on a ranch, um, that we are kind of custom building a campus for our treatment program. So I'm overseeing that. So actually, right after our podcast today, I'm running out to check on this. They just poured the slab on one of the new homes out there. So I'm going to go check out and see how that concrete pour went. And then let's see, probably run over just 10 minutes away is our other treatment program. Go check on them, see how things are going. So just a lot of variety. But that's kind of a high level as far as duties go. And then I'll work till 5:30 or so, head home. And often though, you do have to be as an entrepreneur and a business owner. You can't be the kind of person that says, "I turn off my phone at 5 p.m." You have to leave your phone on, and you have to take your turn on call. And so that's something that for me is no problem though. That doesn't bug me. That doesn't give me anxiety. But I'm certainly going to have somebody who's like, hey, we've got a plumbing issue over here. Can I get authorization to hire a plumber? And I'm gonna have to, say, all right, how many bids did you get? Okay, yes or no. So, but you have to be ready as a small business owner to do stuff like that after hours. That's just part of the game.
Yeah, that sounds like as the business matures, there is a lot more freedom to kind of do more exciting things like visiting a construction site to see the growth. Like, is that really rewarding to know where you came from, and then now after this call, you get to go and see like, oh wow, we're going to build a campus.
Yeah, it is. And you have to make sure to celebrate those moments because it's really easy to just be in the grind all the time and to never celebrate the successes. But you have to think, whoa, like a $9 million project that we're putting into place that we're funding, I mean with financing as well, but we're not having to bring on any investors to fund this project. To be able to do that internally is really, really exciting and something that 8 years ago we would have never, not a million years would we have been in a position to do that.
Yeah.
So
No, that sounds super exciting. I'm really happy for you
yeah,
after knowing what the beginning was. Um, so what type of recommendations do you have for someone who might be looking to start their own small business? You seem to be an advocate for it. I was curious, do you have any advice for either a student who's thinking of going this direction, or maybe even a mid-career transition person? I know this is kind of a very broad question because
yeah.
small business can encompass a lot of different things, but and just any generic advice that you might have.
Well, I love the idea of side gigs. So, we already talked about this a little bit, but I have a fractional CFO consulting business that I do. And there's a lot of power to side gigs. For one, diversifying your own income stream. So if you lose one, you still got the other. So I really like um, that approach to exploring. And so I think a great way to look at it for somebody who might be younger or mid career is, hey, I'm going to try something out on the nights and weekends. If you think about it this way, you've got 8 hours of sleep, you've got 8 hours for your day job, you've got another 8 hours right there. And people always talk about how they don't have time. Well, they need to plan better. You can get a lot of stuff done in that extra 8 hours. You can still work out, you can still spend time with your family, and you can still have 4 or 5 more hours easy to work on a side project if you're dedicated. And so I would, start something, start a window cleaning business, go do it on the weekends, see if you like it. And if you do, hire an employee to help you out. And so just get some exposure without cutting off your lifeline first. And so exploring, I think, is just a really important part of the process. Figuring out what is something that I enjoy doing that also makes money. You got to find that intersection of that on that Venn diagram of things that you enjoy that make money, and then start to play with it. Maybe you're going to be able to do a product business online, and that can be your small business. Or maybe you want to partner with someone who does HVAC in town, and you can have a heating and air conditioning organization, and those are great small businesses. Or a lawn care. I know there are people that make great money doing lawn care, and they only work 6 months out of the year. So there are a lot of opportunities, but I think advice for someone starting out would be you just have to do it and don't quit your day job until you feel like you've got a viable business. So I think that a lot of people sabotage themselves by starting out and saying, hard stop on my full time career and now full time start on my business. And now I have to make it work. And if it doesn't work, I'm screwed, you know,
Hmm.
and they pour all their savings into it. And so I really like the idea of kind of a slow start, experimenting, figure out what I like. Um, and then once it's viable, then you make the decision. Do I want to quit my day job? And then you go full steam
Yeah. No, that's great advice. I made the mistake of not doing that, and I
ahead.
and I had to desperately, claw myself out of it. So yes, I approve of this message.
Yeah, I did it as well, right? I was like, no, I'm just gonna go do this, and took a 50% pay cut, and then it was an intermittent payroll that I was receiving because I had to hold my check sometimes so we didn't overdraw the account. So yeah, and it puts a lot of pressure on you, and you
Yeah.
don't make great business decisions when you have that much pressure on your back. If you feel like I have to make money, it's kind of like corporate or public companies, publicly traded companies get a lot of criticism for always trying to hit the quarterly earnings, and it's a bad incentive because you want to be building your business for 10 and 20 years. It doesn't matter this quarter because it's like wrestling the rest of the sport. You're trying to lose 15 pounds by the weekend so you can make weight so you can wrestle, right? That's not healthy. And that's what you end up doing when you have to make money. You have to feed your family this week. So I think a slow start, and I think with in all things in life, being willing to say, um, I'm going to prioritize consistency over intensity, and I'm just going to be consistent, slow and steady on this until I figure it out. That's the winning strategy all the time in health, in relationships, in business. It's all about figuring out a sustainable, consistent strategy versus I'm just going to go all in on this, all at once.
Yeah, that's great advice. And before we close, I kind of want to just touch upon your fractional CFO business as well. What is that like, and how did you get that started?
Yeah, so that I had figured out some things financially, some procedures that worked really well in our business. And we're a member of a trade organization. And so I started just applying to present at conferences for this trade organization. And I would speak on I would speak on finance within behavioral healthcare. So it's a really niche subject, and there are specific KPIs, for example, related to behavioral healthcare that you should be tracking, and ways to manage revenue within this industry. And so I had just figured this out by myself, started presenting, and I had been doing this for about 2 or 3 years, a few times a year. And someone approached me and said, "Hey, I need a. We're starting a adolescent psychiatric hospital, and we need somebody to help us out on the finance end." And I was like, I'd love to do that for you. And so that was my first and only role that I've taken on. I really don't have the bandwidth or at least the desire to make room for another client right now. I'm pretty happy with one client, and but so I was able to present at conferences. They approached me, and now I've been with them for about 3 years, and they're doing awesome. So it's been fun to see their progress, and I support them with, again, going back to the cash forecast, looking at a weekly cash forecast, looking at all the important KPIs and trends as far as insurance billing goes, and employee payroll expense, or anything that's standing out in the financial statements that we need to look at. Strategic planning long term, designing performance, um, compensation plans for employees. How do we appropriately put incentives in the organization so that the members of our leadership team are aligned with us. So building alignment within their organization. And that's kind of my focus there, though. I do a lot of other stuff. They'll call me if they've got a marketing issue that they want to bounce off me or so. So just I'm an advisor in a lot of ways, and it's been a lot of fun to be able to team up with them, and they're doing some really cool things.
Cool. Yeah, that's exciting. And it's great that you have the flexibility of choosing. I don't want that many clients.
Yeah,
That's a nice position to be in
yeah,
for that.
yeah. And my family appreciates it. So my wife would not like it if I picked up another client.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Um, before we close, do you have any last imparting advice that you might want to, impart upon the audience? Remember that they, and it could be about careers, maybe just life in general, or accounting, small business. Really, this is your opportunity to give any advice that we might not have talked about in this podcast so far.
Yeah, I think with the audience being someone who is earlier on in their career, if I'm speaking to someone in that situation, yeah, it's just being okay with exploring the opportunities available to you because you kind of have this really clear path as a child and teenager, and it's like, all right, we're going to go to high school, and then likely you're going to go to college, and it's just kind of like one ladder. You're up step after step. You know the step in front of you, but then you graduate from college and you're stuck on this plateau, and then the whole world is available to you. It's like, now what? And so it's beautiful and terrifying at the same time. And just give yourself time, put yourself in a position so that you can explore a little bit and just treat everything as an experiment. I'm going to give this a try. I don't have to make this a permanent decision. I'm going to go try and be a CPA for a couple of years. And then I'm going to maybe want to start a small business. So I'm going to start a side gig right now and see how that works. And just having this mindset of experimentation, I think, is really healthy. It takes the pressure off you and allows you to find something where you can really excel, because that's going to be the key. It's not about forcing yourself to fit into this predetermined role that society thinks is awesome. It's finding something that you're good at and that you can excel at, and also that is financially viable. So I think that'd be my advice.
Yeah. Thanks for that advice. I think that's a really good one. And it's, yeah, I mean, I believe in that wholeheartedly. So if anyone's curious or have additional questions, how might they be able to reach you?
Yeah, I'm really not super active on social media with the exception of LinkedIn. So people can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to field any questions there if they want to chat any further.
Okay, great. And we'll make sure to include that link in our descriptions everywhere we post. And if you can't remember where it is, you can also contact us at info@mentoraccess.com, and we'll relay the message. Um, well, thanks so much for your time, Josh. We really appreciate you providing all this information and insight and sharing details about your career.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. It was a lot of fun to be here.
Hey, thanks for joining us at Mentor Access. If you like what you just watched, please click like and subscribe, and also hit that bell so that you get notified when we have new videos come out. Thank you for supporting our mission.